Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. We're back, getting ready to knock out our 9th and 10th best of threes over the last 36 hours here on the HyperX D2L. This time we're back in the West and back bringing you the action now, getting the West underway and bringing you the action. Fnatic and Virtus Pro matching up. Now, Virtus Pro we saw in action yesterday. They had a tough match against Alliance, and well, Alliance did what Alliance tends to do. They took a small advantage and made it a big one, so Virtus Pro comes into play today 0-1. Fnatic just about to make their Season 4 debut, though, and Fnatic has quite a storied history in the D2L. They have been in postseason competitive play in the D2L every season, or at least in contention for postseason. Obviously, it was Mouse and Na'Vi that earned their way to Valencia in Season 3, but Fnatic had their name in that hat for quite some time as well, and looking to repeat the success they've had throughout this stretch. I'm your host, Aaron A.C. Chambers. I'll be joined live by Ben Merlini-Wu. As always, he'll be bringing you the insight and analysis. We've got the team settling in for the draft right now, and we'll be jumping into that momentarily. Want to thank you all again, once again, especially those, I had a few tweeted me actually, and informed me that they're a part of the No Sleep Club, the D2L No Sleep Club, who have been with us every match dating back to 24 hours ago. And, grab and sleep when you can. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's like grabbing a cup of coffee. Just grab an hour. Sleep on the couch in the back. Yeah, we have a little bit of that. But this morning, kicking things off, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Really looking forward to seeing this matchup and getting to see Fnatic, one of the teams who is untouched by all of the roster shifts that have plagued the scene following the conclusion of the International 2013. Let's take a look at how these lineups match up. When you look at Fnatic again, if you kept up with them, there's really not a whole lot of news to report. They're led by Fly in the hard support position. Arrow, of course, their hard carry with Hani in mid. No Tail, well, he's become quite a popular guy. He's a fan favorite, really, in the support position. Occasionally show you some absolutely next-level Meepo play with Trixie in the off lane. They come into play, obviously, with this being their debut. No wins, no losses, looking to make a mark right off the bat. On the other side of the river, we've got Virtus Pro, and they've had a little bit of controversy swirling around them. Going to be playing with the stand-in again, as you can see. No official fifth player, as just yesterday they released Solo, and I'm not going to get into all of the reasons behind that. You can read about that if you like. As it stands, though, the 4 they have left over, pretty damn good at what they do. You've got NS, the leader on the hard support position. You've got Gods, who sets up shop in mid, and really one of the most versatile mid players you're going to see in the West. Light of Heaven, a phenomenal off-lane hero, has been playing carry in the absence of any other established carry player. We saw him on carry yesterday, and he can find his farm when he wants to, but still kind of lacks those instincts as he's been playing off-lane for the majority of his career. Then, of course, Arzart, the hard support Smile, some may know him as. A phenomenal guy, great guy to get to know, and a great guy to watch play Dota, as he is just truly excellent at what he does. They do come in 0-1, going to be looking to to get a notch in the win column to equal things out. We'll find out if they're up to the task coming up next. Game 1 of our first best of 3. We got 2 on the way today. This is the HyperX D2L. Stick with us, guys. We'll be right back. And the draft already well underway here for Game 1. We can see Rubik, Bounty, and Lich picked up for Virtus Pro. Very fascinating ban in that Ricky ban, and certainly we'll have that broken down and analyzed. Naga, Siren, and Io. Now, Io, a fascinating pickup for me. I mean, Fnatic has been one of the best teams at running that hero traditionally. Them and Alliance, really, arguably the best in the West at running that hero pre-6.79. But Io actually got hit pretty hard by the nerf hammer. He had his tether stun reduced from a true stun to a slow, which means you could still have a chance to fight your way out of trouble if you're relocated upon. So to break down the way this draft looks so far, and of course to give you the insight and analysis for all the rest of the games as well, welcome in once again Ben Merlini-Wu. Merlini, my friend, hope you slept well. I mean, we're not getting a lot of sleep, but at least I was pretty tired. I slept pretty soundly what little sleep I got last night. Hopefully the same holds true for you.
Yeah, it was all right. It's all right, though.
It was all right. All right, my friends. So let's talk about Io. I mean, Bounty Hunter, we've seen his star rise. And post 6.79, Lich, of course, we know how highly prioritized he is by most teams. And Rubik, of course, he's Rubik, Naga, Siren, and so on. But Io, to me, This is the first time I've seen IO in play since 6.79, since Tether was changed from a stun to a slow. Just how big a change is that in the grand scheme of things?
To be honest, I haven't seen Wisp be used in 6.79 at all. So it makes me think that it's been changed a lot. But at the same time, I don't know. I have yet to see. The verdict is still out there. And unfortunately, we haven't got a chance to watch many other games since we've been so busy casting D2L. But I know that Fnatic has run Nature's Prophet plus EO versus Liquid in one of the Nexon Super League or Invitational or whatever that is, and they beat Liquid. They beat Liquid twice at best of one, so they're looking very, very strong lately. And I guess they're one of the few teams that keeps using Wisp, but they're using it well.
Yep. And that's kind of been the thing is, IO still gives you exactly what he gave you before. The only difference is just how effective he is at being able to synergize with one primary damage dealer for those relocate ganks and lead things off with that stun to buy you that time to lock a hero down. Now, the retreat potential, he's still able to limit that because it is a movement speed slow whenever he catches you with the tether. But, of course, if you're a hero who has a stun of their own, you're going to have a much better chance to get that off, to buy yourself some time, to maybe buy some time for your teammates to come help. Now, I'd like the Tidehunter pick up here for Fnatic to go with this. Tidehunter is really good as a counter to Naga Siren's sleep, just because as soon as the sleep goes off, there is that brief moment whenever you are invulnerable as the song is wearing off, and you're guaranteed, unless it is literally timed to the millisecond, and even then, there's still a little bit of invulnerability that is going to allow you to counter initiate with Ravage. And having that to go with the Naga Siren now gives them a nice way to not only initiate a fight, but to go ahead and have that huge mid-fight disable out of Tidehunter. They're going to go ahead and snag up the Alchemist as well. That gives them some late-game safety as well as some mid-game punch.
Yeah, pretty good picks out from Fnatic. It's new, though. We've seen Lich, we've seen Timbersaw, we've seen Bounty Hunter, we've seen Rubik, so everything pretty standard on VP, but Wisp and Tidehunter are something that we just do not see very often. Tidehunter, I think, was used by IG once, and it was part of a triple lane. Faith played it as a support Tidehunter. I'm curious to see whether or not Fnatic will use it as a support role. Tidehunter is actually very formidable in a one-on-one situation. Also in a one-on-two, he's a pretty good offlaner. So I think that hero is way more flexible than most people think.
I think he can fit into a lot of lineups as well. It's easy to forget the armor reduction that comes with Gush, and you can fit that into a lineup. You put him on a team with a Visage. Visage gets a medallion. You've got Gush. All of a sudden, if you use Grave Chill to pop Roshan's spell shield, and you can have some massive armor reduction. And the little things about the Tide that allow him to be played a lot more aggressively than he actually is. And just even Anchor Smash can have a pretty big effect early on when attack damage is already pretty low, just because items haven't begun to come out. Something I do want to talk about, or at least to hear your opinion on, the Riki ban coming out of Virtus Pro. Seeing VP take Riki out with that third ban. And, Riki, he did get a buff coming out in 6.79. He now isn't revealed when he uses abilities like Blink Strike and like Cloud. And the Cloud got a buff in and of itself. I mean, is he a hero that we can expect to see sneak in, or is this just kind of a situational ban for Virtus Pro? And if so, what do you think's going through their mind?
I think it's a situational ban. Unfortunately, again, I haven't seen Fnatic play too much, but aside from the EO plus Tiny combo that they ran, it is a somewhat common partner with EO, and I believe Alliance has run it a couple of times. So it's not something unusual, or it is something unusual, but it's not something that we have seen before. It is very early in the banning phase, and I guess they just wanted to ban out a very annoying partner from EO. They had the Bounty Hunter, though, so it's like, I mean, are you really scared of a Riki when you second pick a Bounty Hunter? I don't particularly think so.
No, I agree. That's kind of what stood out to me. I mean, you've already got the counter.
Yeah, I think that Fnatic did a good job with the Clockwork ban, though. We saw how well VP used it yesterday. Although they don't have the same stand-in as they did, Cliff just played a ridiculously good Clockwork and kept them in the game for quite a long time.
And that Anti-Mage fifth pick, you remember last night, Merlini, I mentioned during our last game that I was surprised we didn't see more Anti-Mages picked up, because it seemed like he really just jived with the way things play out in 6.79. It felt like every time we saw him played, he was always going to have a good game, and that has actually panned itself out. And one of our faithful viewers actually looked the stats up for me. I said, he tweeted at me this morning, actually. I had wondered aloud, what his win percentage was in professional matches post 6.79, since we didn't have Nahaz handy to look that up. He actually has a 76% win percentage out of all heroes who have been played more than 20 times since the patch. So, and that puts him as the second most successful hero of all heroes, 6.7 or post 6.79, again with 20 matches or more under their belt in competitive play. So I think that kind of jives with what we've seen in both the East and the West. Any mage just fits into the way 6.79 is played so well. 6.79, a very roam-centric patch. We're seeing a lot more activity out of supports, and of course, the early blink on Anti-Mage makes it very hard to gank. He can retreat extremely well, but he can also split push very well. We're beginning to see a lot of pick and push kind of lineups that are predicated on the idea of that early roam-centric style. So definitely Light of Heaven going to be on the Anti-Mage. Light of Heaven we've seen can find his farm. He struggled a bit in play yesterday, but definitely like that Anti-Mage pick. And I think teams are going to begin to figure out just how strong that hero is in the current metagame.
10 seconds remaining.
Excuse me? Oh, Anti-Mage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is just... we don't know his win rate. It has seemed way higher than previously. I don't know. I think...
I just covered that, actually.
It's just he doesn't ever get, like, touched. Like people just like leave him alone and expect him to not carry, except he does carry. And case in point, Zoe on his Anti-Mage with 300 CS in like a little under 30 minutes and just absolutely rolled everybody. Like I mean, it's not a big surprise to anyone that Anti-Mage can carry. But Light of Heaven is on a farm appropriate hero, and this is a problem that has plagued a lot of teams. It's like, hey, Light of Heaven, do you want to farm all day? Sure, we'll give you Potom and then lose. It's like, well, now they're like, hey, we'll give you Anti-Mage, and if you get up Battle Fury and Manta, then that's a totally different story than like a Midas Lincoln's 25-minute Potom.
Yep. And I actually like the way that Anti-Mage matches up against both Shadow Fiend and the Alchemist both. There's going to be an ensnare on the Dobriak. Now that does reveal him. Do they have any detection? They do. They drop the sentry. They're going to be able to catch him with an unstable concoction. Bad start for VP as they give up first blood. That's going to end up going to Fly as well, and everyone was handy for it, so the experience split up and assist gold all around. And Fnatic comes out firing, catching a rather bold bounty hunter.
Yep, and we're going to see a dual lane mid. And it looks like Hani is not going to have an easy time, and Lich is very, very good at shutting down farm and level dependent solo mids, and Shadow Fiend one of the most farm dependent ones.
Yeah, and I really love the solo mid play with the Lich. It looks like he might be rotating. He took a sacrifice out of the mid creep. Now it looks like he might head his way down. As the lanes take shape, we'll go ahead and run through our lineup, see who's handling who. Fly, of course, will be playing on our Naga Siren as mentioned. He got first blood. No Tail be playing on our IO. He does play one hell of an IO. Alchemist will be handled by Era, the main carry for Fnatic. Trixie going to be setting up shop in this off lane alongside of Fly. He'll be handling our big green guy, handling the Tidehunter. While Hani takes the Shadow Fiend mid against the melee Timbersaw, he should be able to do quite well in this situation, especially if NS decides not to come back over to help him out. Speaking of NS, he'll be on our Lich on the side of Virtus Pro. The Anti-Mage going to be played by Light of Heaven, who, as you mentioned, we've seen him. He can find his farm. He certainly knows how to farm, just this time on a hero that's actually going to make use of that farm. God will be playing the Timbersaw in mid up against Hani. Bounty Hunter will be played by the stand-in Dobriak, and I guess that's how that's pronounced. He gave up first blood, so he's going to look to bounce back from that. And Arzard, a.k.a. Smile, playing on our Rubik, going to be helping out the Anti-Mage up here in top lane.
So the odds for this game, 80-20 in favor of Fnatic. I see that's pretty accurate, given that VP has to had to use like stand-ins recently, and they're not using the same ones as yesterday, and that will definitely hurt their team chemistry, and pretty evident by their first blood already. Dobriak just giving it up with boots too. So the Wisp move speed nerf is like, and the tether nerf, it's like slight, but whatever. They can still get first blood pretty easily.
Yep. It's the situations where I think it makes the bigger difference is generally just the one-on-one situations. I mean, obviously we saw the first blood attempt, and that was, I mean, it's certainly more than adequate whenever you just have the enemy outnumbered. But trying to teleport 1 onto 2, or 2 onto 2, or even 2 onto 1, depending on which hero it is, if they have some kind of nice counter initiation, that's where we're going to see that really feel much different. So Fnatic, I'm sure, very well aware of that, and I'm sure they've continued to practice on IO post-patch, and anxious to see how they end up playing it out. Lich so far.
Evan blinks down and tries to harass Fly. I don't exactly know why he's doing this. He's missing out on a decent amount of CS for pretty much nothing.
Yep. Giving Trixie a little bit of room to farm as well. And you don't want a Tidehunter getting a quick 6. A quick 6 on a Tide up. Hang on, bottom. Dobriak got to be caught out again. NS is there. Doesn't matter. IO with one last auto attack makes it 2-0 favoring Fnatic. And the poor stand-in Dobriak, he's getting a taste of Pro Dota today, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Light of Heaven, where is your blink?
Yeah, I was a little curious. I honestly didn't think he was going to die there. I didn't even have the camera in position because I assumed he would blink away.
He like walked up to the creep wave. Trixie anchor smashed him. He was trying to right-click Trixie down because every time he comes up, he gets anchor smashed. So he's trying to burn all of his mana with level 1 feedback. Or mana break, whatever it's called in now, and then he just like tanked tower for like 3 hits, got gushed, and then got riptided, and then just died.
Yep.
Like Light of Heaven, you cannot let that happen.
Taking a look at the early CS, Tidehunter actually is leading the way right now. We can see this top lane getting very volatile, and Trixie not enough mana to do much of anything but swing his big ol' anchor and do a little bit of damage. Down to bottom, Era is sitting on 12 CS, tied at 17, leading the way. Timber out of mid is doing quite well. He's actually making life pretty hard on Hani. He's got 13 stacks in the Necromaster now, so really no excuse for him to be missing last hits, but currently almost doubled up by the opposition.
I blame Lich.
Yep, Lich is a big part of it too.
Yeah, and on top lane, once Trixie get his arcane boots, Anti-Mage is not going to be able to farm the lane. Just like constant Riptide plus Anchor Smash spam. If he's ahead and AA just TP's in plain sight. I thought he was about to.
Yep, they're going to be able to get Era as a return kill. Dobriak died a second time, or a third time actually, but being able to kill off Era as a return kill actually isn't that bad. So up atop, Light of Heaven is going to end up zoned out even more. His farm right now sitting at 9 CS isn't the end of the world, but certainly not where he wants to be. His first night comes 4 minutes in.
Yeah, this is something that we haven't actually seen before. We've seen people use like 3 range heroes in a lane to shut down an anti-mage. We've seen Darkseer before, and we've seen Clockwork used, but Tidehunter is actually a very good solution versus anti-mage, and he can fight a lot early too. Like as soon as you hit level 6, you can contribute a lot to your other lanes, and he's really farm right now. Tidehunter has it's the second most CS in the game, 24-3. He's leader in CS right now. Off-lane Tidehunter
already has his arcane boots up, and now they're gonna
get the zone out.
Yeah, just running Light of Heaven flat out off the tower, and they're all the way back closer to the tier 2 now. And no reaction. I mean, right now, Virtus Pro just not feeling confident. This tower's already down to half health. And if they can get the Tide to 6, they can take this quick tower, maybe get him an early blink. And that's very much a possibility. 430 gold he already has with his arcane boots already up, so making very solid progress for 5 minutes into this game towards that blink. They're going to be able to just dominate the map with their mobility based on IO and with their ability to just go 5-man when they want.
Light of Heaven getting pressured very heavily up top. There are 2 supports coming in, though. Trixie has actually opted to skip Cracking Shell, recently buffed.
Oh, here comes the TP, and there's a blink away. And NS is there. Here comes No-Tail hooking up with her. Can they get Light of Heaven? It's going to be close. The Spirits, no, they actually got blocked by NS. He ate a lot of damage. They're going to get No-Tail on that. Light of Heaven needs to be buying NS a beer, basically using his body to block the spirits that would have gotten him. And they're going to get the deny on the tower. Obviously, losing that tower that early, not the best, but could be much worse as well. 4-2, Fnatic maintains the lead, and this top lane has collapsed.
They know that Trixie's there, though. Trixie's giving up a very unnecessary kill. If he hit over here or somewhere better in the fog, or like even just ran away, he would just escaped. So that's a very high priority kill too. He's 5.5. Once he gets that Ravage, he was I don't know what he was doing there. But anyways, Anti-Mage, he thinks his lucky stars that EO's balls go clockwise instead of counterclockwise.
Yeah. And Trixie going to come on back to lane. And we'll see how aggressively we want to continue to play this. We see No-Tail is beginning to spend more time near mid. Hani sitting much better in terms of CS. He's up to 28 now. Only the Timbersaw is ahead of him. God doing a great job on Timbersaw. I haven't really talked a lot about that, but he was doing a great job of zoning him out even from level 1 and 2. Just being willing to go behind the tier 1, feeling confident there was going to be no reprisal, zoning him out, and making last hitting even in that situation difficult. Lich has been bouncing around the map using Sacrifice to help all lanes at once, and he's benefited quite a bit from when he has come in the lane. He's almost level 6 already.
Yeah, I think that Gauze is going to have a huge impact on Dobriak getting dope again.
Yep, and here comes the Lich. Not level 6 yet, doesn't have an ulti, wishes he does. Could have banged them up pretty damn badly. They're going to drop a ward while they're there, and obviously Lich with his right click, not the best. He's actually going to try to go for this. They're going to tether back up. He's going to dive behind the tier 2 at 7 minutes. NS going to be chopped to pieces. Here comes reactions. They're going to try to grab him. AA snatching up No-Tail. Era's going to be able to get away, but trading it. And IO for 2 kills for Era. Well worth. Oh, the Shuriken came at the last possible second. God's there to help out, and Era will end up dying. So Nice reaction there, and Dobriak getting a little bit of vengeance with the mini stun off of Shuriken Toss.
That is just overzealous.
Yeah, it's man mode. It's chest out Dota.
It's the right hero to do it with. Unfortunately, Wiz didn't hit level 6 either. The Lich experience really hurting Wisp. If you were level 6, you could probably relocate out like as soon as they right about when they're gonna kill Lich. But yeah, experience coming in handy there. So I think Gods is gonna have a really big impact in the mid game. They have 3 strength heroes. They have EO, they have Alchemist, and they have Tidehunter. And that Whirling Death strength minus strength is just absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's a very good pick. And the other heroes, he can't really rely on either. Lich and Rubik have been forced to just run around so much. Anti-Mage had his farm shut down. He's 0-1-0. And we've seen Dobriak die 4 times now. So it's really on Gods to salvage this mid-game.
Action going to break out at top. Mass reaction on a Virtus Pro, sniffing out Fnatic and trying to punish Fly and Trixie. There's Song of the Siren, and they're just going to peace out. Trixie waving goodbye. And he'll make it back to safety. In the meantime, that's freed up more room for Era to find his farm there in mid. Hani continuing to farm up. He's now at 53 CS. It is so hard to play against the Shadow Fiend whenever you're unable to apply pressure to him for this exact reason. If you react elsewhere on the map and give him space, he's going to flash farm like hell. When you take a look at the net worth, he's on top of net worth. So he is in absolutely great shape. God has rotated around and has helped make some kills happen, but right now the Shadow Fiend is on very good pace to get up the items he needs. He's got 1,600 gold to go with his strats.
VP has to stop losing towers. They lost his top one. It wasn't that bad since they actually got 2 kills, but they're going to lose his bottom one for pretty much nothing. There is no glyph up for 1 more minute, and at the same time, they're not applying pressure to Hani. So VP, they're like babysitting anti-mage, and I guess that goal is going okay for them, but they have to achieve their secondary and tertiary goals in limiting the Shadow Fiend. Don't let Hani get a BKB early. Because they don't have anything versus BKB because AM has no items, and they need to stop losing towers so they can keep up map control and farm safely in most parts of the map.
Yeah, we're coming up on 10 minutes. Light of Heaven hasn't even started work towards his Battle Fury yet. He's going to go treads first as he's picked up his Belt of Strength to go with his brown boots. He's got a poor man's up, so I mean, he's going with the very stable anti-mage approach, not a straight Battle Fury rush. But at this point, I mean, they're going to be able to start applying pressure to him very, very soon if they want to. He's being left alone relatively so. But Fly, level 6, we saw him use Song of the Siren. Tidehunter's level 7, and he's about a third of the way to his blink
They've
tag.
scouted out bottom. They use a dust, but wow, it didn't actually pop. They need to get the hell out of dodge.
Yep, here we go. No tail likely to be a track kill. Era needs to get it just needs to get out right now. Dobriak on his tail, not going to be able to
I don't know
track him
how
down.
they use that dust. Like, he anticipated it coming. There's no sentry wards anywhere. I was looking for quite some time, and maybe they knew because of this observer ward that people are coming towards us, but I think it was a smoke gank because they just bypassed the creep wave. But I mean, good play by VP there. Very common to use bounty hunters scout out for ganks, and he just narrowly dodged that dust gank.
Yep. It's one of those situations where Fnatic was so quick to suspect he was there that he benefited from it. They popped it, and he couldn't have been more than 20-30 range out of range when it went off. But right now, Tide's in great shape, 61 CS. How often do you see a Tidehunter nearly doubling the early CS of an anti-mage? That's exactly the case right now, and Light of Heaven did finish his treads, but still struggling. Now they're going to try to dive Light of Heaven. Here comes the gank in. The Ravage goes off, catches a couple. They're going to kill Light of Heaven for sure. Trixie likely to be a track kill in return for it, though, and he will be. Era going to be telekinesis. There goes the Lich ulti. Not a lot of damage as it bounces from creeps. They will be able to finish. No! The tether lasted just long enough. And that's one of those tricky situations. Do you focus Era down and try to burst him down, or do you go after the IO? They selected Era to be the one to focus down, just couldn't get him down fast enough.
That is a very good trade for Fnatic there. They had 5 people up there, and they managed to only kill 1 Tidehunter who had already expended his Ravage. So that's just not looking good for VP. They're trying their very, very best to protect Light of Heaven, but still, all he has, 12 minutes in, power treads, poor man shield, Quelling Blade. He is definitely a poor man.
No tail might be in some trouble. He's going to use Overcharge, but wrong place, wrong time. And Dobriak has bounced back. He's on a killing spree now after starting the game 0-4. Shadowblade, though, has come out on Hani. And
Where's the bounty hunter?
Look at this stack. I didn't even see that that No Tail was doing this. Nice stack for Hani to nuke down. He's already got 500 gold after completing his Shadow Blade.
Yeah, his net worth must be pretty out of control right now. 58-28 compared to Alchemist. Alchemist is number 2, sitting at 4,600. And Gods, who has not died yet at all and has been free farming a lot and involved in 3 kills, number 3.
Light of Heaven continues to be zoned out. And again, how often are you going to see a Tide Hunter bully around an Anti-Mage? Tide actually is higher level than Light of Heaven at this point. They're both level 8.
They're coming in with Dobriak, though.
Yep, has more experience. Trixie playing pretty balls out at the moment. They're trying to split the map. They've got 3 at top and 2 moving through the jungle.
They know that he's there, too.
And they're going to catch Fly. There's an ensnared. And Io going to be coming in. They're going to try to punish this. Fly will be cleaned up. The dust goes off. They get the kill on Dobriak. Now Light of Heaven going to have to make a run for it. He's got to blink up. Will manage to make it to the high side of the lane. In the meantime, here we have God plus Arzard rotating to mid. And Shadow Fiend, he's going to be able to ult AA. He loses 3/4 of his health. There's a gush from the low ground, and No Tail's there to help secure the kill. And Era.
Is he going to get stunned out?
Yep. Actually stuns himself and gets an eye on the tower. Trixie has a gush in 1 second. There it is. Here comes NS from the high ground. He'll drop a sentry, and Hani right on top of him. Timber Chain gets him away. NS, though, not so lucky to have a good escape mechanism. The Chakram will slow them down. Fnatic does not care to dive, man. How many times? This is like the 4th time they've ended up behind a tier 2 already this game.
Yeah, they have to back out now. The VP's making like decent trades, though. I mean, Rubik was given away for nothing, but on the top lane, a bounty hunter who got a track kill. They're doing like okay, I suppose. VP, I don't know. The biggest problem is the Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage is just like nothing. He has Treads now. Tidehunter has a mech for crying out loud.
Yep. And
they haven't really been fighting with Hani at all. Hani has a DD. Is he going to pick off Light of Heaven? They need some sort of support, though.
NS under cover of smoke with a couple more from Virtus Pro. They actually didn't get Dobriak with that. Thought they might have. Arzart leading the way. They're going to try to catch out Era. Looks like Fnatic is aware it's coming. There's the overcharge on the Era. They're going to go ahead and back out. They might. Yep, they are going to spot out Dobriak. He walked past a sentry ward as well as a regular ward. And Era, thinking better of it, they're going to run behind the tower. And a little way on his face should be fine. 4 still remain there from Virtus Pro. And Light of Heaven trying desperately to catch up. 15 minutes in, has yet to pick up the first component of a Battle Fury.
Oh, Era actually went S and Y on Alchemist. How uncommon is that?
Yep. I like it, though. I mean, when you look at who's their biggest problem right now, it's going to be the Timbersaw. And being able to just have a way to slow him down, to try and track him down in these fights, certainly going to be a big benefit. Adds to his movement speed, going to allow him to get in and out of fights much easier. And Light of Heaven,
he needs BKB. Just like, boom, man up. They have nothing versus BKB right now.
And Fnatic's doing a great job of forcing Light of Heaven out. I mean, Light of Heaven just can't find anywhere on the map where he feels comfortable whatsoever.
Yeah, if he gets netted, he dies instantly due to relocate. So he can't farm anywhere where the Naga is, and he doesn't know where the Naga is because there are no wards out on the top, and his team is trying to constantly pressure bottom because they are like, wow, they have Alchemist and a Shadow Fiend who we haven't really killed all that much. Era's sitting at 4 and 2. Hani still hasn't died yet, and they just need to get something, like make something happen right now. They're trying to bait out Light of Heaven, but there's only one lone support back there.
Yep. Arzart. And Trixie's got Ravage plus a mechanism. He's going to get the gush off. Light of Heaven going to be forced to blink away. And the relocate's going to come in. Light of Heaven actually stuttered there for a second. Chakram comes from the low ground. Era looking for a target for his unstable concoction. Will find it. Gets a max level or max charge unstable concoction out. However, good engagement coming out from the Timbersaw. The ulti from Lich, more than enough. The mech comes out a little bit late, so Trixie unable to save his teammates. Now they're going to chase him all the way back. This is a big win for Virtus Pro. There's the Song of the Siren, though. And see, going to run behind the Tier 2 Fnatic, bringing up the rear as well. He does have Ravage up. If they want to try to push, they'll have to push into that. Hani, though, has been left completely alone at top. No Tier 2 standing at top now.
Miscoordination by Fnatic there. They narrowly avoided the Rubik, like when they went in. If they had just gone on him, he would have died. Also, Lich just chain frosted EO and Alchemist because they were simply standing too close together.
And they might try to zone them out off of this. Yep, there's the ensnare on the Light of Heaven. Going to move right on top of him. Riptide. Trixie has a Ravage. Not going to spend it yet. Holds on to it. Virtus Pro poking their nose back up to the high ground. Telekinesis on the fly. Throws him back. Era shows his face with a freshly completed S and Y, but looks like Virtus Pro will be able to make it away relatively unscathed. Hani is getting gigantic. 8,600 net worth right now. He did not come to any of these fights. And this is the problem. Virtus Pro is trying to 5-man with an early game anti-mage who is underfarmed and underleveled. They're not getting enough done while they're basically Fnatic's able to hold 5 with 4. And the Shadow Fiend has capitalized on that. He's going to have his BKB done in 400 gold.
Yeah, he just got a T2 tower, and they traded Alchemist and Wisp in exchange, but still, the T1 still stood, and Light of Heaven still desperately trying to seek his farm out. Perseverance complete, still quite a bit of ways away from his Battle Fury, though. Tidehunter, I think, needs a Blink Dagger. He went a mech instead. I think if he just got Blink, he can stop worrying about AA stealing his Ravage, because we saw him hesitate there because AA was super ready for it. If you looked at him, he was just looking at him. He could have telekinesed at any time, and it would have most definitely been stolen by him. So having that hesitation and having to think twice with it is just not good for team fights, and they could have probably killed like 2 or 3, especially if Hani TP'd in.
Taking a look at the GPM totals, we can see Animage at 284 GPM. Just not what you can afford to have going on when your team is totally relying on that hero for late game damage. We can see he's going to show his face against there. A big rotation coming down from Virtus Pro. They're smoked up and looking to make something happen at this bottom lane. This Radiant jungle has not treated them that well, though. They've picked off a couple of kills. But these big dives and these big rotations just have not.
No Tail just used his dust as well as his tether.
Yep, there's Dobrak. They're going to try to chase him down. Era pops his ulti, going to go for the run. There's the slow from the Frost Blast, drops down. The Acid Spray going to be a telekinesis, and Lich's ulti going to go off. Only bounces one time, though. Era's still there, and Shadow Fiend comes in with the ulti, just cleaning house. The right click coming out of Hani through the roof. God going to be forced to try to Timber Chain away. And haven't even had to use a Ravage in the meantime. We're going to see Arzart cleaned up by the Alchemist, and they're not done. Here comes... Oh, he missed it. Came up short. That's going to be the end of God. Let's call it a Nietzsche moment as he makes it a triple kill for Era. And 13-12, and honestly, Fnatic in danger. Well, I should say Virtus Pro in danger of having this game completely slip away from them now. That fight, again, trying to move through that Radiant jungle just hasn't worked out all that well for them, and that time a complete disaster.
Yeah, they were running out of options though. They can't protect Light of Heaven, so they're trying to just shut down their opponents trying to farm instead of protecting their own, and just didn't work out for them. Fnatic too prepared right now. Hani way too farmed. The moment he actually fights with his BKB, we can see what disastrous results VP is met with. And now they lost like almost all their T2s. The last, the one being on bottom being pressured last. But what are they going to do about Hani?
I mean, hell, at this point, Era's a pretty big threat as well. And we're going to see him throw out another unstable concoction. They might want to clear out, though. There's a lot of firepower coming down this bottom lane after them. But right now, I mean, Hani's a huge problem, but the Alchemist is right behind him, sitting at 8,500 now.
Fly going for the song. He canceled it.
And behind them, Dobrak keeping an eye on things. There's a sentry. Oh, never mind. That's a sentry from Virtus Pro. Thought that they dropped that in anticipation of Dobrak, but there's only one outer tier tower remaining, and it might not be remaining very long. Trixie has up a set of drums, a mech, and he's only ravaged once. I mean, they haven't even needed Ravage to win these fights this hard.
Yeah, that's really problematic. And yeah, Rubik's good versus Tidehunter, but not if he doesn't even need to cast Ravage to win the team fights.
Exactly.
And now they have everything up. They were just waiting for Chemical Rage to be up, waiting for Shadow Fiend Ultimate. They can easily go in with Song of Siren, just clean up with a well-timed Ravage, followed up by a BKB Requiem. I don't think VP should defend this at all. This is just a disaster waiting to happen.
And Hani gonna have his Shadow Fiend run out right in front of him. There's the dust immediately. The ensnare on the Dobrak. He'll be cleaned up. They're going to be able to take the fight on their terms. And, yeah, never mind. Virtus Pro realizing they can't even engage off of that. Losing Dobrak right there. No way they can fight. Mech going to keep them up and fighting. And, oh, Fly came in from the back. He looped all the way around and managed to catch God. And look at the burst. Oh, he did Timber Chain away, but caught out with the stun. No way to follow it up. Era poked his nose up on the high ground. But in the meantime, has finished up a basher, and yeah, they're going to be happy to just take that tier 2, fall back, let everything come off cooldown, and look to do it again.
That was without Ravage, too.
Yeah, exactly.
If they had poked up the hill and saw those two supports staying right here, they would have definitely Ravaged right here instead of all gathering around the Timber Sub. But they were already really far behind to begin with. Fly that was a good song, but his teammates were just a little bit too far away, so not ideal for him. They can easily take Roshan out right now. I'm looking to see if they have any medallion on them, but to be honest, they don't need it. They have Presence of the Dark Lord, they have Gush, they have Acid Spray. That is just so much minus armor. And I forgot about that. Yeah, Fnatic is just a pure minus armor line aside from Wisp. They have Riptide, they have Acid Spray, Gush, and Presence of Dark Lord. That is so much minus armor. Lich is nice and all versus it, but 9 armor versus what they probably have like minus 22 plus from these 4 heroes rather.
Yep. Big ancient stack being taken here, and Fnatic well on their way to a victory, barring some series, not just one, but this is one of those unfortunate situations. I mean, you look at the kill score and it seems close, but what's happened is Fnatic has just gotten so much more out of the kills they've made happen. And to the tune of about 14,000 gold advantage in a 24-minute game. So in excess of 500 gold per minute advantage they've been generating from the moment the horn blew.
Yeah, so we've seen VP face against 2 teams, right, in the D2L regular season. And, I mean, I think, like, Fnatic just been looking really strong. Alliance has always been hailed as one of the top teams, but or AA.
3-shotted by Hani. And Hani, by the way, you want to talk about some minus armor? He's got a Desolator on the way, as if they needed more minus armor. Basically, if they focus fire and use every minus armor ability, they're going to have the potential to one-shot pretty much every hero except Timbersaw. Timber might take 2, maybe 3.
Yeah, that's 29, and that's without a medallion.
Yep. Like, it is absurd. Like, watch this Roshan draw. I wish he had Deso done. He's about 100 gold short, so it won't be there. But this is a 23-minute Roshan. And he's just, being chunked away like a hero would at this point. And no way they can contest it. I mean, at this point, Virtus Pro, their lineup, they just, it's obvious that, Arzar, not Arzar, but Light of Heaven is a phenomenal player. But seeing him in action a couple of series now on the carry, you can just tell it's not his forte. He's much more comfortable in the off lane.
And I was meaning to ask you, do you think Fnatic has been looking better versus VP or Alliance? And Alliance, they were like close to dropping one game, it looked like, versus Death Prophet, but Fnatic is just looking top form here. And Fnatic actually beat Alliance yesterday in a best of 1.
Yep.
But still, they beat Alliance.
I don't think that's that big of a surprise. I mean, Alliance, and obviously I have a very personal connection to those guys. They're still relaxing a little bit post the international. Fnatic is one of those teams that was untouched by the roster shuffles, and they've got a chip on their shoulder. I mean, their performance at DreamHack Summer and at the International 2013 was not what they wanted it to be. And these 5 guys still together, still with their home organization. They've still got all that experience, all that time, but I guarantee they're coming into the tail end of 2013, and they'll be moving into next year with a renewed sense of dedication, knowing how good they can be and how close they were to making a run that they would have been happy with at both of those events. So, 25 minutes in, and they've just got the best of Virtus Pro. Not a lot they can do as Hani has completed the Deso. There's a track onto Era. And, yeah, we can see even God with reactive armor. He's not going to be able to stand in these fights. Just look at me. Gets gushed. The Deso, so on and so forth. Light of Heaven, comp with Unstable Concoction. Gets some Lich armor. Not going to matter. There's the Ravage. Anchor Smash. Isn't enough burst. And he actually alive for a little bit longer. Era might end up blown up, and he will end up losing the Aegis. So here comes the relocate back home. And ulti goes off. Requiem's there. That's an ultra kill going the way of Hani as they just continue to run over top of Virtus Pro to close this game out.
On the bright side, Anti-Mage has his Battle Fury.
Hey! He didn't build a Midas, okay? I'm happy. I'm a happy guy.
They don't even have to use all their ultimates, which is the sad part. Like, a lot of the fights they were winning without... wow, poor G gets stunned while he's trying to Timber Chain away. That nerf really being an effect right there. Yeah, they didn't have to use Song of Siren in that fight to initiate. They didn't have to use Tidehunter Ravage for half the game. They didn't need Requiem or Shadow Fiend at all in the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the game. And, I mean, VP, yeah, the kill score was slightly in favor of them, but it wasn't a close game at all.
No. Again, what it comes down to, kills matter to a certain extent, but what matters more than kills is what you're able to do with them. And Virtus Pro only able to take down 1 tower in this entire game. Meanwhile, Fnatic, they didn't even need kills to get goals accomplished. They were doing things like just forcing Anti-Mage to back with low health and then getting a free tier 1 because of it, zoning him off a farm and accomplishing things at bottom with Era having free farm, so on and so forth. And this is just a very Fnatic-esque lineup. I mean, the really mobility-based, a multi-core with Hani and Era.
He might get picked off here.
And he will. So, Virtus.pro showing a bit of a pulse, unfortunately. Very likely to be too little too late.
Yeah. Come on, get that track gold, increase Light of Heaven's GPM. Quick. And look at Shadow Fiend, 1353 gold. His net worth, 17,000. His GPM, 618 in the 27-minute game. And game's not even over yet.
No.
And he has a DD in his bottle, too. If he finds one of those weak supports without Frost Armor, they are donezo.
And he's going to go headhunting.
Yeah, he has a ward over here,
He's
too.
hitting for almost 400 damage. This is going to be... oh, God. There's this Timber Chain on cooldown. And, yep, looky there. Timber Chain, Unstable Concoction connects, and one last right click from Era. More than enough. NS and AA hanging out on the high ground. Light of Heaven trying to shove the lane out, but this mid lane likely to be the target anyway, as they have a set of naked racks.
You can tell that Era and Noto have been practicing Alchemist and Wisp a lot. Like, he had the stun charge up before. They're very, very coordinated. They never look like lost when roaming together as a duo, and that just speaks volumes about how often they played Wisp in general.
Well, this 5 out of Fnatic, I mean, hang on. They're going to pursue this out. We're going to see Dobriak go under cover of Shadow Walk and unable to find him. No vision of him, so he ends up beating it on his face. And here in mid, Trixie back up. Has Ravage. And they're going to go ahead and try to engage. Oh, he was trying to Ravage right there. They're so...
Oh, boy. Here it goes.
And get ready. There's the 5-man. Hani right there to clean up house with a couple of right clicks. They chase the rest down. 4 heroes down, make it 5 down in as many seconds, and that'll prompt the GG. Fnatic, in their first appearance here in the D2L Season 4 Western Division, comes out firing and comes out firing hard. Making a
style.
Yeah, no joke, man. And again, you know, Virtus.pro, they haven't looked terrible in the series they've played so far. I mean, obviously, this is just their second, taking on Alliance in their first series of yesterday. Just seems like, I mean, they're literally missing a piece. They're playing with the stand-in. They have Light of Heaven in a position he's not super comfortable with, and it shows 1-5-5 from poor Light of Heaven. Can't get a lot done with an anti-mage that starts out that poorly.
Yeah, I think that's just brutal for them. They need to just draft for the early game, go all out with the early game, maybe do a push strat like they did last time versus Na'Vi or Alliance rather, with a Death Prophet, and just do something different. There's no way they're going to win the late game. Fnatic's just way too good at controlling the map, so what they have to do is contest the lanes, try and get a lead from there, and push it into a mid and late game victory.
29 minutes, 14 seconds, the official game time, 26-14. The final kill score. Fnatic rolls, makes it 1-0, and puts themselves one more game away from improving their record overall to 1-0 in their D2L debut. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers. The other voice on the other end of the line, that's Ben Merlini Wu. Make sure you check him out. It's Merlini Dota on Twitter and elsewhere, YouTube, Facebook, you name it. Definitely a guy you want to check out. There you go. Twitter address. You can follow me as well, AC. For now, I want to keep the action rolling ahead. This is our Western Division second day of play. And don't forget, guys, Western Division action here in the D2L will not have an off day from now until the Thanksgiving break and looking ahead to Columbus and, of course, DreamHack winter. So for the next, not quite 2 weeks, I guess 13 days now, because this is our second day of play, we will have Western Division action every day to the tune of at least 2 best-of-3s. Some days, like this Thursday coming up, we'll have triple headers. So you can head over to d2l.gg to find all of our schedule information, team info, standings, you name it, we got it right there. And the Eastern Division will be winding up next weekend as well. So a very exciting time here on the HyperX D2L. We'll be right back in just a few minutes with Game 2 as Virtus.pro looks to turn the bagel into a breadstick and give us a Game 3. But, you know, Fnatic looking pretty good. They want to make it a goose egg. So we'll see which team's up to the task. We'll be right back.